Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How are y'all doing? I'm, of course, your host, Mark Krishnez, and today I've got a handful of games to talk about, including Horizon Chase 2, Bread and Fred, Hive Jump 2, Survivors, Cozy Caravan, Musashi vs. Cthulhu, Dr. Cat, Cat Pipes, and Doug's Nightmare. You may be saying to yourself, that's a lot of games to talk about. Well, some of them are quite short and or don't require a lot of words to describe them and their quality or lack thereof, or maybe they are very, very quality having. But before we get to all that, I've been putting this off for a while now, but I've decided, well, I already did decide a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago, to start my Fast and the Furious rewatch / first watch, because I stopped at the 8th movie, which I thought was the 7th movie, because I did not think Charlize Theron was introduced in Fate of the Furious, or whatever that title is. I thought that was the 7th, but that's not the case. I looked at the 7th. Well, yeah, the 7th would have been the introduction of other Shaw. Han killing Shaw. Jason Statham Shaw. And I've now watched the first 6 movies, and I'll probably keep at it, but I do feel like I am in need of a break at this point. Even though the last 2 movies were pretty good, especially 5. The most surprising thing to me is that Justin Lin, I believe, is the director of Tokyo Drift, and then Fast and Furious, which is the 4th movie, horribly titled, also horrible, and Fast 5. And it amazes me that he did the 2 best Fast and the Furious movies and the worst one. So in my current rankings amongst the first 6 movies, number 1 would be Tokyo Drift. Number 2 would be Fast 5. Number 3, I think I'd give it to the Fast and the Furious, the original, the first movie, just for laying the groundwork and being a pretty competent Point Break clone. Then Fast and Furious 6, then Too Fast, Too Furious, and then Fast and Furious. Because Fast and Furious is unquestionably the worst movie in the series. Not only is it just incredibly boring and lacking any kind of fun, it is also the introduction of Gal Gadot. Pronunciation, whatever. I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to pronounce her name, but it introduces her not only to the series, but also the world. Without Fast and Furious, we never would have had her Wonder Woman. Because I would have been incredibly surprised if she just came out of nowhere to be Wonder Woman without any kind of notoriety. And she's awful. As an actress, she's an awful, awful actress. As a person, she seems quite nice and pleasant and like a very nice, lovely person. But when it comes to acting, she's awful. I've never liked her in anything. And I don't like her here. She does die, spoilers, in 6, but you just see her falling backwards into darkness. And given the fact that I know Han returns in, I don't know if it's 9 or 10, anything can happen. If we don't see their corpse, then I'm not convinced they're dead. And it seems like they only want to kill off people from the original movie. because the only family members that are dead, or the only family members who are dead are people from the first movie. You have smart tech guy, I don't remember his name, and then Paul Walker's a Buster dude, that guy who was the bad guy in Transporter 1, looking real skinny in that movie. But I love Tokyo Drift. I think it sans Bow Wow, who is unquestionably I feel like that I always end up falling onto certain words that I decide, you know what? This episode, I'm going to say unquestionably over and over and over again. Because I've already said that twice. And that's not a word you say all the time. But unquestionably, Bow Wow is the worst part of that movie. And I'd say the only real bad part of the movie. He isn't super loyal. He's a bit of an annoying piece of shit, and his car is the dumbest car to ever be in a Fast and Furious movie. But overall, I like the drifting culture that the movie is surrounded by. I think it's cool. It's different. The cars are good. We've got, what's his name? Sonny Chiba? I think a pretty well-known cultish, or maybe transcending cultish actor from the, I don't know what decades, but he was in, most famously, old Street Fighter. I think they were called Street Fighter movies. I don't know if I've seen any of those, but Bodyguard Kiba, not Samurai Wolf, Yakuza Wolf, which I like those two movies, which are very different from each other. But he's been in a lot of things, so he plays the father of the antagonist in the movie. And I like the story. I think if you take away the fact that kid from Sling Blade looks older than anyone in the series ever, in that movie, in Tokyo Drift, he looks older than Paul Walker looks in Fast X. And he looks really old in Fast X because he's been dead for how many years at that point? So he's rotting 6 feet under. It's not 7 feet under because there's, you want to remember how many feet under it is? Think of the TV show. But I just really like that movie. I like the story. I like the characters. I like the vibe. I like the lack of Vin Diesel. And it's just a good time. I really like his father's car in the movie too. It's one of the better cars, though the best car will always be the Skyline from Too Fast, Too Furious, which is better than the fourth movie because it still has a bit of that car culture vibe that I do enjoy. It introduces, is his name Tyrese? And I think he becomes a pretty annoying character throughout the rest of the series. But I think he's quite good in Too Fast, Too Furious. It also introduces Ludacris. His love interest in the movie is the worst part of that movie. She's just given some of the worst dialogue in the entire series. The series in general isn't great with female characters. But in the race, she's terrible. But it has that going for it. And it's also called Too Fast, Too Furious, which is the best title of any Fast and the Furious movie, and it will always be the best title. It's great title. But then Fast 5 is fun, and then Fast and the Furious 6 is a continuation of 5 and still alright, but I really don't like the main story of Letty and her amnesia and going after her and fucking like it shows you how much I don't actually care about the series because family, I don't fucking give a shit. I fucking fuck Letty. Leave her alone. Get her out of here. I don't like her character all that much anyway. But yeah, that's that so far. And then I watched this movie, Legacy of Rage, with Brandon Lee. I'm not sure if it was his first movie ever, but it's his only Hong Kong produced movie. So that's different. I didn't know he did any movie of that nature. But it's all right. It's a little lacking in action. It does, though, show me more than The Crow, and maybe that's because I'm not entirely sure how much of The Crow he actually filmed, given what happened there, which I don't have to go over. But it did show me, Legacy of Rage, how good he was and how much we lost with what happened on The Crow. That's a shame. But it's a movie worth checking out. It's getting a Blu-ray release in August from 88 Films. I don't think they're doing a US release of that, so you'd have to import it. I'm trying to remember if 88 Films tends to make all of their Blu-rays region free. I'm not sure. But that's some of the stuff I watched and other things. I don't know if I remember if I mentioned this last episode, but I rewatched LA Confidential. Still a great movie. Some of the worst ADR I've ever seen in a movie. It's really, really bad. And it's first immediately noticeable. There's ADR all over that movie, and some of it is pretty tolerable. But some of the more egregious examples you get right off the bat with the introduction of Kevin Spacey's character when he's at this dance or the show that he's working on, I'm assuming. And it's so bad. And when I look at something like that, I think, okay, clearly you had to use ADR here. There was no getting around that. But how do you look at what you've got and think, this is fine? You don't want to redo it because it's bad. Clean it up. It's so bad. But I watched that because it was on a bit of a Guy Pearce binge. Hunger, I don't know. And I also watched again Lockout, I think is the title, where he has to go to the space prison to save the president's daughter. That is such a fun movie. I cannot recommend that highly enough. It's a shorty. It's 90 minutes or so it's in and out. It doesn't waste any time. There's no fluff. And it bums me out as much as it makes me happy when I watch it, because I look at it and I think Guy Pearce could have had a really fun career as a charming action star because he's so good in it. He could have been an Indiana Jones like in a whole bunch of different movies. And also this watch, I realize Lockout is the best video game movie that just isn't about a video game, because it feels like a video game. The dialogue, the set pieces, the action, the setting, so much of it feels like a fucking video game that it's almost surprising it isn't based on a video game, or that they didn't make it feels like a fucking video game. But it's so good. If you've never seen it, check it out. But that's some of the stuff. As you can tell, I've decided, you know what? The Pixelated Sausage Show, that's what it's called. So it's my site. This is me. Talk about whatever. You know, that would be just about games. I don't need to make a movie. I don't want to do a movie podcast. That's too much. If I want to do the anime podcast, which hopefully maybe comes back, returns, whatever. next month, which starts in a few days, the month of June, have a birthday celebration. I was gonna finally buy a watch strap for my busted watch next month for my birthday, but instead I decided to buy a trash can, which is quite fitting because I am trash. So why not buy something that's it's like looking in a mirror. I didn't get a stainless steel one though. Well, it's stainless steel, but it's black matte black. Matt LeBlanc from Friends. I'm so funny. I don't think any news or anything stood out that I can remember. At least there was something. I remembered I wanted to make note of things that I see in a movie. Oh yeah, Xbox apparently signed the first Rocksteady game. I'm guessing to some timed exclusivity, or maybe it's just day one Game Pass. I think they said, oh, it's some action adventure game. So probably like the Arkham games. Or not the next Rocksteady game. The next, or the first game from whatever the studio is that I can't remember, made of former Rocksteady people. Presumably all the people who left because they didn't want to make Suicide Squad. Because I think the heads left long ago, and this is probably their studio. Whatever. I'm past the point of caring about. Unless it turns out, you know what they should do? Microsoft partner with this team, assuming it's a lot of the people who did work on the Arkham games. Go to Embracer, because I think they're still the ones with the rights and that studio. I don't think that, or maybe that's with, I don't know. Find out whoever the team was and who has the rights and agreements to make that TMNT Last Ronin game, and say, whatever you're working on, let's get that out of here. Make the Last Ronin game, okay? Because the Last Ronin game made by the team that will never be complete again, but just thinking about that original Arkham team making a Last Ronin game, it's too perfect. It's oh god, why can't I have nice things? I've got lots of nice things, but why can't I have that nice thing? And if you're looking at the video, that is the reason I finally framed and hung up the control print I got, and I just got an Alan Wake 2 one that is gonna go there-ish, and then at some point there's a Metal Gear Solid thing that I like that I want to put in between them, and there might be space for one other thing. But this empty space on that wall has been bugging me for a while, so I want to fill that up. Yeah. I'm feeling like I'm getting to that place I've been wanting to reach for a very long time, even though emotionally and mentally I don't. And like this place I want to get to is not a physical place. I'm not trying to. I haven't been slowly moving my house. It's not on stilts or anything. But life is complicated, all right? Shut up. Leave me alone. What were we talking about? Getting places, that's what. The Ascent, Attack the Backlog series episodes, that's done. 2 episodes as I expected. It was a little worse in there for a while, but that's all over and done with, and I've selected my next game, which the patrons know about, but I will keep a secret for now. It's something I've been wanting to play for a while, and to give a hint, it's a very, very, very old game that got a remake, and it just recently came to consoles. So shouldn't be that hard to pick out, but the fact that it finally hit consoles is what convinced me to give it a go, because I have the remake on PC as well as the original version, and I'm not sure. I think I'm going to try the original version as well, but I don't know if I want to play that first or after. But the main game I'm going to play is the remake. Yeah. Also, there's a PlayStation sale, and as always, I'm at this point, I'm pretty sure they're never going to put any of their first-party games on sale for more than, I think it's 43% off for the PS4 and PS5 versions of, say, God of War Ragnarok or Horizon Frozen? Forget what Horizon. The second one, all right? I've forgotten Wild? Something. Call of the Wild's the VR one, right? And then Gran Turismo. So on and so forth. I hate it. They only put the PS4 version on sale for 50% off. Then it goes, I think, usually 43% off for the combo version. And then 38% off for the premium edition or deluxe edition. They don't even do something like putting them on sale, the premium and or combo pack for 50% off for PlayStation Plus members at this tier or that tier or the highest tier. They could do that. That would incentivize me to rejoin. I haven't been a member for over a year at this point. And you know what would get me to rejoin? Some extra discounts, especially on your titles. Why not do it? And then you'll just have me suckered in, because I ain't gonna use your thing. I ain't gonna get any of your stupid PlayStation Plus games. I don't care about that crap. I don't like also that when I look at my library, it still shows the PlayStation Plus games that I did. What's the word I'm looking for? Not redeem, but I claim. It shows them in my library unless I hide them. I don't like that, since I'm not a member anymore. Hide them automatically, because they're not. I guess it's them trying to remind you that you have all these games that you can't access now because you're not a member anymore. So maybe you should rejoin. You know what? I will take the 5 or 10 minutes it is required to hide them all. Fuck you. All right, let's get on to what I've been playing and then call this a show, because we've been going on about whatever forever. Horizon Chase 2. This is the sequel to Horizon Chase, which I believe on consoles when it came over was titled Horizon Chase Turbo. That's what I know it as. But I guess it was at some point just called Horizon Chase. This is a classic arcadey racer, very akin to racers from the 8 and 16-bit era. If you've played Horizon Chase Turbo or Sansa Turbo, it's just more of that, prettier. Think of it like an NES game to a Super Nintendo game. If you've never played a Horizon Chase game, it's a very, very simplified, accessible racer, mostly lap-based, but occasional time trials and some point-to-point races where you don't really have to worry about braking or letting off the gas. You just have to avoid your fellow racers so that they don't impede your momentum and the obstacles on the side. The only time you'll ever have to initiate brakes or let off the gas is if you misjudge a turn and how severe it is, or go into it too wide, or maybe too. Well, you wouldn't let off the gas if you went into it too narrow. That's pretty much the gist of the gameplay. You have a handful of cars that vary in terms of their speed, acceleration, handling, braking. But you don't really have to worry about anything other than your position and when you strategically use your boost. You have 3 boosts per race. I think in the first game you are able to collect boost pickups that will give you an additional boost. I can't remember. I played Horizon Chase 2 for a little over an hour and completed 3 of the circuits, 3 of the areas in the story mode, which is maybe about a quarter of the way through, quarter to a third of the way through. And all you're doing is going on these short races in very, very bright, vibrant, colorful areas, and picking up these checker flag pickups that give you a little bonus. And that's it. It's very, very simple, but it's satisfying. It feels good. The one negative thing about it, though, is that it feels like a step down from Horizon Chase Turbo. Yes, it is visually more detailed, more vibrant. There's so much more going on. And while it still does have a charm and a personality that's unique to itself, it does feel like something was lost in that increased fidelity, where, because I went back and played some Turbo, and the lo-fi nature of the visuals, the simplistic look of it all, was a bit more appealing to me. I'm sure to a lot of people, the better it looks, the more they'll enjoy it. And there's no questioning that Horizon Chase 2 looks better. But outside of that visual upgrade, the feel is pretty much the same. But the music in Horizon Chase 2 is fine. There were a few times where a track felt or sounded pretty good. But when I went back to Turbo, every single course I raced at, the song was fantastic and really reminded me of those great times I had in classic racers like Top Gear or Super Off-Road and Rad Racer and so on and so forth. So what I'm really getting at is, if you've played Horizon Chase Turbo, you loved it, you've completed, you're well past the point of getting any more out of it, and you want more of that, Horizon Chase 2 is more of that, and it's good. It's still the quality gameplay that you had in Turbo. But if you have never played Turbo, I would recommend playing that instead. And then if you play that and like it and you want more, you can eventually pick up 2. But it's not a substantial... It doesn't add a whole lot or change up the formula of the first, which is good, because the first is one of the better, if not the best, arcade racers of the last however many years, that was harkening back to those classic games from the 8 and 16-bit era. Because we've had quite a few of those. I think Slipstream was another recent one that was maybe... The visuals could be distracting at times, but it had a bit more of that aesthetic, but it didn't feel as good. But we've had a lot of races like this, and Horizon Chase Turbo was always the one I thought of. And Horizon Chase Turbo looks really good on this Steam Deck OLED. if you have that and you've not played it, and I'm playing on an Xbox, Horizon Chase 2, but I'm sure that would look incredible on the OLED as well. Yeah, Horizon Chase 2, it's fun, but it's just not as fun as Horizon Chase Turbo. It is what it is. That is Horizon Chase 2. Check it out. Next is Bread and Fred, which is a cooperative platformer that if you are unable or don't want to play cooperatively, instead of being tied to your friend, and in this game you play a pair of penguins having to get up this mountain. But if you don't have a friend to play with or you don't want to, you are instead tied to a rock, which you can throw around and it'll stick to walls. You can drop it from a ledge and then swing it around to give yourself momentum to get you past large gaps. And that is the way I played it. I bounced pretty quickly because I could tell very quickly that it was going to be an incredibly frustrating experience. One, there's an accessibility option that allows you to place checkpoints. So you drop a flag on the ground and then you can get yourself back to that area. The way you do it, I played it on the Switch. That's where I got a code for it. It seemed very finicky and it didn't really explain how that stuff works and when I can place a flag and when I can't. Because I placed a flag and then I started progressing and I got a decent ways up and I wanted to place a new flag and it wouldn't let me. And then I accidentally hit another button and threw the rock off a ledge and then it pulled me down and I fell so far down. And then it took me down further than where my flag was currently, even past that. And I pressed the plant flag, plant checkpoint buttons, I guess, because I thought I was pressing the buttons to send me to the thing, and then I planted a new flag on the ground, the bottom floor, and I just thought, I don't want to do this. This is just I'm gonna hate this because I'm already not really liking it. I do think the way they've tried to make it playable or do a single player version by having this rock attachment as opposed to just making you go by yourself, because there'd be things where you couldn't do that, is kind of cool and smart. But it's for a certain type who is willing to deal with the frustration. And maybe if I got a better understanding, or maybe it's a little bit bugged as to how the checkpoint system work, I'd feel more comfortable tackling it, because I don't want to have to redo this shit because I don't think the platforming is fun because it's slow given the nature of it. And I don't like it. It's not like a Celeste where a lot of quick actions and quick thinking. It's more methodical in nature. And it's not really my jam. But I really wanted to try it and see what it was like to play single player. That's why I was curious about it and asked for a code. And there are some accessibility options, but it's just the checkpointing system. One other thing. And infinite jumps, which I guess if you turn on infinite jumps and you're playing with another person, you can both be infinite jumping to get past things, so that'll make things easier, I would assume. But when you're playing by yourself, infinite jumps does nothing because you're still tied to a rock. So all you can do is you just keep jumping. You can keep yourself in the air, but that rock doesn't suddenly become light as a feather and then you can infinitely jump with it. So maybe there should have been an additional accessibility option, or it should know, if you're playing single player, then the rock becomes either, say, infinite jump, and it knows whether you're playing single player or not, or infinite jump as well as an option to make the rock light as a feather. Because while it would negate so much of the way the game is designed. I'd be curious. The point of making something accessible is not to keep, at least the way I look at it, you're not keeping the design intact exactly how you design the game to be played, how you in your heart believe it's meant to be played. What you're doing by including accessibility options is allowing people who are unable or don't want to adhere to your design a means to still engage with your game and enjoy it on their terms. And whether or not you are open to that, that is up to each and every individual developer. But for me, and maybe they just didn't think that, oh, right, when you're playing single player, you won't be able to utilize this accessibility option because the rock, but they didn't think that through. Yeah. I would recommend. It's only on Switch and PC at the moment, I think. Obviously, it's not on Xbox, or I would have asked for an Xbox code. But maybe worth checking out if you have someone to play with. If not, I'd say pass. Unless you like the idea of those kind of. I guess it would fall in line with people who enjoy stuff like, was it Jump King? And then getting over it, or any of those games where it's going to be frustrating, it's going to be challenging, and if you fail, there is the possibility of you failing really hard and having to make up a lot of what you've lost. The next up is Hive Jump to Survivors. As one might expect, given the survivors in the title, it is a survivor-like. So Vampire Survivors, a auto shooter that we call a one-stick auto shooter, auto attacker that is currently in early access, and it has some cool ideas. I do like the fact that, one, if you want, you can play it as a twin-stick shooter instead of an auto shooter. So you have the ability, the option to, at any time during run, press a button, I think it's the X button on an Xbox controller, to switch between auto mode and manual mode for firing. And when you turn on the manual mode, it's treated like a twin-stick shooter. While I think this is cool, it doesn't make a lot of... It doesn't make the most sense. I think a lot of these survivor games are designed around letting the game shoot for you. So while it can maybe make it a bit more engaging, allowing you to play it as a twin-stick shooter just feels like a waste of your time. But one of the biggest things about it that makes it unique is this jetpack you have that allows you to not only avoid enemies on the ground when they're piling on you. So if you have a big horde that is surrounding you, you can get out of that by using your jetpack to get over them. But you can also use it to get away from enemies and fly over a gap in a mountain or something that you can clearly hover jetpack over. And it's still a top-down game. It's not 3D, so don't think of it that way. But in its current state, it's very, very limited. There are only 2 areas and maybe a handful of pilots to play as that you can unlock. But in my hour and a half or so with the game, it's not a whole lot of fun, in large part because the current selection of weapons and utilities at your disposal that you get from leveling up, like you do in one of these games, they're all pretty boring, and there's just not a huge variety there. So runs feel very samey. I don't feel a lot of opportunity to try different builds and utilize different tactics, deciding I'm gonna focus on grenades and machine gun and this ability and that ability. It feels very, very limited right now, but it's an early access game, so that's to be expected. But because of that, I would say unless you really like being along for that early access ride, it'd be worth waiting a bit. Because what's there is just not super enjoyable. Oh my god, my mustache was going all up my nose. My mustache is Hive jumping up my nose. Jiminy Christmas. But it does have a nice look to it. I like the way it looks. I remember when I first saw screenshots, I thought, this looks like some super high fidelity Centipede-like. Because I like the way Centipede looks. I think it has a great use of color. I like the way that the levels change in color when you complete a stage. But I've never liked the game of Centipede. It kind of reminds me of that. Quite colorful, and there's potential there. The thing though that bums me out about the jetpack is that I think it could be implemented in more interesting ways. And what I mean by that is you can avoid enemies by flying over them. But what I think would be really cool is that there are enemies that are on the ground and then there are flying enemies. I think it would be cool if the game, when walking, let's say through an enemy that's flying, if you don't use your jetpack, if you walk through them, you don't hit them. There's no damage taken because you're walking under them. But if you were going to walk into a ground enemy, they damage you because you walk into them. And then if you're using your jetpack and you're hovering over some ground enemies, but then you fly into a flying enemy, you would take damage. That's not how it works. And then I would also like with enemies that fire at you, there be some kind of color differentiation that signifies whether a projectile is from a ground enemy or a flying enemy, and then you could use that same mechanic to avoid different type of projectiles depending on where they are in the space, if they're on the ground level or flying level. I think that would add a bit more strategy to using the jetpack, because currently it's just used to avoiding, and then you get certain utilities that will increase firing rate or damage, stuff like that, when using your jetpack. But again, early access, so we'll see how it goes. I'll check in every now and again because I like these games. I like these games that there. I still, again, really need to check out that, though I want to play. That might be a sooner than later Attack the Backlog game, Deep Rock Galactic, and then I want to check out their Survivors version, their Survivors game. But that is, again, Hive Jump 2: Survivors. I'm curious, when I saw this game and I got the code, I thought to myself, what's Hive Jump 1? It had to be a completely different type of game. But speaking of early access, another early access game is Cozy Caravan. I really, really, really like this game, but it is early access. It is pretty limited. But what is there is so pleasant and delightful that I can't fucking take. It's so adorable. The aesthetic is very pastel like color wise, and everything looks very blushy-ish. If this game were to explode and become super popular, you could see plushies for all these characters inhabiting the current location in the game. There are going to be more locations added over time, but currently there's only one location. And what you're doing in this game is you have this caravan that you are able to drive around between different little towns, little villages, and you can help out the inhabitants, get some supplies while you're doing it, learn some new recipes, and then at any point in a town, you probably you want to. It's best to do it on a weekend, and you can at any town just open up your shop and start selling goods. You can sell raw goods. You can cook up some meals for people and sell those. When you open up shop, you'll see little bubbles above characters' heads indicating what they're interested in. So hopefully you have that stuff, or you're gonna not be able to make a lot of people happy. And that whole thing works a little bit like Moonlighter, where you have a few at the start. You only have one space to put down something to sell. People can go up to it, pick it up. I want this, and you can upgrade that over time. There aren't many upgrades right now. How you can modify your caravan is very limited. You do have a character creation at the start too, making your cute little fluffy version of your character of yourself. Which again, if this game exploded, what an awesome thing would it be to have this game get some kind of Build-A-Bear partnership where you could build your actual created character. I'm thinking way ahead because who knows what's gonna happen, but it's very simple so far. And what's there is I've run into some bugs where things stop and I can't complete certain objectives and I just have to cancel them out, which is a little annoying, but again, early access. But so much of what you're doing right now is just going to these various areas. You'll help someone on their farm, so you go into their farm, collect all the things, all their vegetables or fruit that are ripe, place them in their collection basket. Then you leave and they say, "Thank you so much for helping me. Here's some for yourself." You take that back and you put in your inventory on your little caravan, which is powered by a giant bee, which is adorable, and it makes it's buzzing is the engine sound, so it's going and that's the engine sound. You see, this game is cozy as fuck. All right, it's so cozy that the people who'd be into this probably don't like the fact that I'm swearing, because they just can't fucking take it. I'm fucking sorry. This is just fucking is. It's what it fucking is. This is just me. All right, calm down. But it's so. I just hope there's more to it than what there currently is, and that it's not just to add more areas and more characters, but that they have more unique things to do. Because there are also mini games where they have a kind of Overcooked like thing where you help someone deliver drinks to a bunch of their customers. But it's very simple, not much to it. I was playing hide and seek with a little kid. That was fine. There are these frogs all over the world that you can pick up and collect. And then the dialogue so far is all cute, and you have little things where people want you to go take pictures of this or that. It's all very cozy and very pleasant. But I want a little bit more to the caravanning and the selling and all that. Part of me feels like I wish you had your own shop in a town or in your hometown that you could go back to, and that you can use the setting up shop anywhere to earn currency or maybe something else. You can initiate trades too to get things, but the ultimate goal was to get back to your main shop, and maybe you could hire employees so they're doing stuff while you're away, but to really make something that is permanent extra special. Maybe that's something they're considering. But I believe when looking at the roadmap, a 1.0 at the earliest, the end of this year. But it sounded like this game probably won't full release until next year. But if you don't mind being in the early access stage with the game, I'd recommend checking this game out, because it's It's one of the cozy games I've played recently that I really, really like, despite the fact that it is still quite limited. But it's so pleasant, and it works great with the controller. The foundation is very, very good. The gameplay feels good. The art is 100% there. Music's pretty solid. The voice sounds that characters make, that's all good. Got to turn on this lighting. Been talking too much. My God. There we go. That's what we want. But yeah, Cozy Caravan. Lovely. Love it. Then Musashi versus Cthulhu is a pretty simple action game where it has a pretty striking, high contrast art style that kind of reminds me of certain clay games like Mark of Ninja. It looks pretty good for being a simple, tiny little game. And all it is enemies will be coming from either side of the screen, left or right. And the way you attack them is with either the face buttons or the D-pad. And depending on where you see the weak spot on an enemy, you'll have to hit them high, mid, or low. With the D-pad, it's left, up or down, and the face buttons on the Xbox controller, for example, it would be Y, A, and B. And that's all you're just seeing how long you can last. So enemies are coming from both sides, and if you miss, you get a small little breather where you kind of push them off with some energy to recollect yourself, and that's it. It's super simple. There are other games that have been in this vein. I think maybe that one punch death, one hand, one finger death punch game is like this, but it's fun. It's fun. Your mileage will vary. It might be something that you play and you're done after a few tries, or it could be a game where you just keep wanting to best your high score and get on the leaderboards. There's some crazy numbers on the leaderboards that may be real or not. You never know. Some people can figure out ways to break games. But I enjoyed it. Simple, but enjoyable. Then Dr. Cat has you playing as a cat psychiatrist, I guess, and other animals come into your little office and they go, blah, 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 and then you tell them, hey, let's make a puzzle. Let's put together a puzzle with you in it. And then you put together essentially a block puzzle. It kind of looks like it would be a sliding block puzzle, but it's just a select one puzzle piece. They're all squares. And then select another one, and then you switch them, and you're putting together these puzzles. What makes it relatively easy is that there's an easy mode and then a normal mode. I can't remember if this was on the normal one or not, because I played both and I just can't remember. But I played mostly easy because that's what the default was. And it has for the corner and out the border pieces, lines that will indicate what side and where they should be aligned to make it easier to get that initial placement, which is key simply in the fact that if you don't have that, it makes it hard to start working from any space, because you may be putting things together that are fitting, but then it may be slightly off. Maybe they're one space to the left or the right, or too high or too low. And then you have to move all those pieces one by one by one. So having that ability to at least lock in the frame, the borders, is a really good design choice. But it's fine. Decent art. Nothing too crazy. You like puzzles? Worth checking out. Then Cat Bites. The cat theming in this is just doesn't really need to be there. You have a cat, and you have a little node, little ball thing, and you're just rotating all these pieces until all these pipes essentially are connecting to each other and connecting the light to various points so that all of the cats are lit up. And then when all of them are lit up, it goes, hey, you've completed the level. And then you've completed the level. It's I don't like the way it looks, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's fine. It's doing what it's setting out to do. And okay. But I wish it had a bit more artistic ambition to it or something. Cat theming made more sense. Maybe you were connecting balls of yarn instead of just beams of I don't know. It's fine. But what's not fine is the last game, Doug's Nightmare, which is indeed a nightmare. It is a twin stick shooter puncher where you're a banana with insomnia, and it's got incredibly ugly art that's akin to a 12-year-old boy's sketchbook using Crayola colored pencils. It might as well be on line paper, and it's very unpleasant to look at. Bad writing and bad gameplay of a top-down rogue game where you're going from area to area, going through all these rooms. Every time you enter a room, closes off, enemies spawn in until you defeat them all, and then you eventually fight a boss, move on to the next level, so on and so forth, continue forever. You'll discover outfits to make your banana look dumb, and new weapons that can make you not have to just punch things, and some specials. You have to worry about your anxiety level or something, and when it depletes, then this lady nightmare banana will come after you, and you gotta kill her to replenish it. It's pretty easy, except the bosses are annoying bullet sponge cheap pieces of crap. And when I hit the first one, I was getting very frustrated, so I dropped it down to easy. And then that's what I was doing. It wasn't fun to play or to look at or to listen to. Unless you want some easy achievements, but some moderately time-consuming ones for what it is, I would avoid Doug's Nightmare. Think of it as an actual nightmare and avoid it. Especially if your name is Doug. If your name is Doug, this may in fact just be your nightmare. But speaking of nightmares, I'll end one for y'all now. And by that I mean this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Mark Krishnez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. If you support me, depending on the tier, you can get a fancy smancy Discord role, fancy smancy private Cool Kids Club Discord channel, a monthly Q&A, random drops on the Patreon, me talking about a bunch of stupid nonsense, and other goodies. So if any of that is appealing or you just want to support me because you enjoy the stuff, that would be much appreciated. That's again patreon.com/PXS. But if you can't, or you don't want to, do the like, subscribe, bell garbage that everyone's always telling you to go smashing that shit. But do it gently. I don't want you breaking anything, especially not your hand or your foot or whatever you're smashing with. Keep yourself protected. Especially you, Sonny. We don't need more of you. And you don't want more of you. Stay away from horse ladies too. I know you see them and you're like, oh, there's going to be something bad that happens there. But in addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye-bye.
time. Go, Daddy.